Hello and welcome back. This is episode 3 in our continuing series. Today, I thought I would like to cover the FSA ID, the username and password that begins the FAFSA and acts as your electronic signature to submit FAFSA, and spend a little time talking about the FAFSA itself. If you recall from our last episode, I said I might visit the website if we had enough time. Felt like I was running a little bit long, so I thought I would dedicate this entire episode to familiarizing you with the resources available on the CCAC website. So with that in mind, let's take a look at our website. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to go and visit the CCAC website and see all that there is to offer. If you have not, no worries. We'll be covering some of it today. And like I always say, hopefully you'll see something that sparks interest, sparks a question, and then I can assist you in a personalized tour of our website. So I want to talk about financial aid today, applying for the FAFSA. But I also want to take some time for everybody and show you some of our websites, some things that might be of interest to you. So if you look at our website and you go across to students and parents, one of the newest portions of our website is a section that I've been developing for about the last 2 months, and I refer to it as your student and parent resource toolkit. From this page, the idea is that there will be a number of links and a number of connections that take you to the rest of the website. So if you were to hop on the website right on this page, it would direct you through its content to the areas that you might wish to visit and research next. So it starts out with a description of why we're building the resource toolkit, which is basically just as I explained, and then where to begin. A lot of students, if they don't have an idea yet of what the fall will bring for them after graduation, a good place to start is a career assessment. Discover what your aptitudes, interests, and values lead to in terms of a connection, a link to what you're interested in and how to get there. These assessment tools are really good to give you the areas of interest, but also the demand for the fields that they suggest, the growth potential in those areas, the median salary, and some good information to start exploring some ideas that might lead to either a major in college or a career path straight away. So you see we have the Career One stop, the ACT, the Meyer-Briggs. I've also added career cruising to that section. Uh, any one of those will do an assessment. Any one of those has a tool that you might find of interest. Students often ask me, well, which one is the best? When you play around with them and spend some time, you'll discover which one is the best because it will be the site that processes information in the way that your brain likes to receive it. One of my favorites is the ACT, but that's probably because I've been using it for a while and I'm more familiar with it. But really just look at all of these tools and see which one meets your needs. And then once you've decided, okay, I have an interest, we can move on to planning for college. We've got a number of links, a great application checklist, some things that you could be considering every step of the way to check off on your list of planning. You have my link to our scholarship resources. The federal student aid and FAFSA will show you how to create your ID, how to complete your FAFSA. If you are planning for a vocational or trade school, you'll still probably wish to complete the FAFSA. A lot of trade schools will accept Pell Grant and federal loans to pay for their tuition. Planning for those trade schools, though, will open up some other areas of interest. You can go to the Pure Michigan Talent Connect, see what trade school options are available, see what programs are new, see what the demand trades are. We discussed last time that I have a resource page dedicated to trades. And then you have Going Pro in Michigan. Planning for enlistment in the military is next, and I've added a number of links, individual links to individual branch. So rather than just, what's involved in enlistment in the military, you can look at the individual steps, and it's a regimented process, and it varies by the branch. So you have all of the branches: Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine, and National Guard. to peruse. And then up above, today's military gives you just general broad overviews of what you'd be considering if you're thinking about military enlistment. If you are planning to enter the workforce directly, I mentioned before, some students have a family member who owns a family business. You may be in an employment opportunity right now working in high school that could lead to advancement, or you may just wish to avoid the 2 to 4 year school and want to enter directly into the workforce. A number of great resources in Jackson. We have the Jackson Talent Hub. In Michigan in general, you have Talent Connect. Michigan.gov has a great number of resources for internships, for apprenticeships, for what employers are seeking and how to really look to effectively enter into the workforce with a step ahead. Of course, if you're entering into the workforce, you'll have an interview. In order to have a proper interview, you're going to want a really, really well-constructed resume. So I link you to Resume Genius here, but also remember that I do a lot of workshops on resume construction, and I can help you directly with that. So this page is a really good starting point, and like I said, it'll link you to the rest of our site. If you were to say 2 to 4 year college, a lot of times students know already going into their senior year what they wish to major, where they wish to attend. The nagging question that you'll always have throughout your college career will be, how am I going to pay for this? So with that in mind, financial aid, that is direct center to our website. It gets a lot of traffic. It's one of the pages that receives most attention is the FAFSA, how do I apply? But I have a lot of different resources here. Scholarships, if you can acquire scholarships and go to school without having to pay your tuition, that would be fantastic. That's your first choice, is free money. So I have the traditional and the trade scholarships, those resource pages. I have grants and loans and FAFSA, the John George, Michigan Tuition Incentive Program. These pages really are a reference source to study what these programs entail, what's involved in applying for these, what the eligibility requirements are. There's a lot of glossary terms because a lot of these terms are going to be unfamiliar to you. So you'll want to start with a foundation of knowing what it is you're even looking at, and these pages will help you with that. And what I want to look at today is our FAFSA page. This page will link you to the FAFSA, to the FSA ID, which is the first step, creating your username and password. The username and password is based on your date of birth, your social security number, and a valid email address. That creates your identity with the Department of Education. That will allow you to create the FAFSA application. It will also serve as your electronic signature when you finally submit. So the first step there, above the 7 steps of completing your FAFSA, would be to create that FSA ID. And we will go to that page in just a second and talk about that a little more in depth. The 7 steps of FAFSA completion, there is a student demographic section. It is made up of basically the demographic information you use to create your ID. And then you will decide which school you wish to attend. Any institution you place in the school selection, your student aid report will be produced by completing the FAFSA, and that student aid report will be available to the institutions you select. You can select up to 10 institutions at a time. If you select 10 and a couple days later you say, oh, I thought of another one, you can go back in and add as many as you like on as many occasions as you wish, to make sure that every institution you wish to have your information has your information. If you're undecided, that's a great feature. Just let everybody know that you're planning to attend college, and they will see your eligibilities. Once you finish your school selection, there will be a section on dependency status. There will be a number of questions to determine if you're an independent and dependent student. This section may be the most complicated. It may be the most vague and confusing to students. Am I or am I not an independent student? Am I dependent? What does it mean to have to provide parent and guardian information? We could go in depth about that, but honestly, this is one of those areas where I tell students, I've done 1,000 of these applications over the last 6 years. I've done many, many FAFSAs. Let's sit down and have a conversation about your home, your household, the dynamic, who you live with, and whose information you must provide on the application for financial aid. Once you've done that, there will be a financial information page. The easiest way to retrieve tax information to figure out your eligibility is to use what they call the IRS retrieval tool. You basically take all of your information from the IRS and it transfers directly to the page. That is a little bit confusing as well to students and their parents. So again, it's one of those areas where I say, let's have a conversation. I will walk you through exactly how to do that. The end of the application is a review. You're able to review all of your information, make sure it's accurate. Checking for accuracy and efficiency will greatly minimize the number of verifications you have to deal with in the future. It will help for ease of processing your FAFSA. So I always suggest that when we work on the FAFSA together, I will look over your final review of all the information, make sure that it looks exactly the way we want it to look, and then you submit. So you're going to use your FSA ID again to submit the FAFSA. So let's take a quick look at the FSA ID. You will link right here. That'll take you to the FSA ID page. And you see that there are two tabs: Create My FSA ID, Manage My FSA ID. First, you need to create it. But once you've created your FSA ID, say you use an email address. A lot of times students will use their high school email address. That email address expires when you graduate, so they have to go back in and edit the FSA ID by putting in a permanent address. I always suggest put in a permanent address to begin with, but say you need to do that, you can go to Manage My ID, use your username and password to log in, and it will allow you to edit your profile. When you first create it, you're going to create your own username, a unique username, a password. There are some stipulations. It has to be alphanumeric. It has to have at least 8 characters. It cannot contain your name, your date of birth, your social security number for security purposes. You want to avoid passwords that have identifying information about you. Once you do that, you'll continue on, and then the continuation will collect some demographic information. You'll create challenge questions. In the event that you forget your username and password, you can identify yourself either through your email, your username, or by answering your challenge questions. So that is somewhat the FSA ID. I would go further through, but I already have one, so it wouldn't let me get very far before it identifies that it knows Brian Green. Once you've created that FSA ID though, then you are ready to go up here. You'll notice on the website, anytime I refer to an item, I like to link to that reference. So when I discuss the federal application for student aid, it is a link, and you click on that and that will take you. Start here or log in. Funny thing, they both take you to the same exact area. So you'll start, say we start here. It takes a long time to process. It's processing. And then it'll ask you, are you the student or are you the parent? Parents are only creating an FSA ID so that they can sign on behalf of their dependent student. They are not creating their own FAFSA account. A lot of times there is confusion because students want to use a parent email address because they don't have one for themselves. The parent will go in under the wrong tab, and the Department of Education, the FAFSA application, becomes confused and thinks that the parent is the student. If you are the student, check I am the student. If you are a parent, check I am the parent. When you check the parent, guess what? It's going to ask you for the student information. So the best way to save on heartache is come in together, work on it together, or have a combined understanding of your student FSA ID, your parent FSA ID, and what each of your roles is in completing the FAFSA. Once you say that you are the student, It's going to have you enter in your username and password that you've already created because you now have an FSA ID. It's going to take you to the next page and have you accept their disclaimer. Their disclaimer says you are the student you intend to tell us you are. You're not using somebody else's information. You're using this information to apply for financial aid. If you take out a loan, we expect you to pay us back. That's essentially their disclaimer. You accept that. There will be a save key. The save key is your second level of security. It only has to be 4 digits. It can be a word. It can be a number as long as it has 4 characters in it. That will be your save key. Once you've entered in with your username, password, and save key, it will take you to the first page of the application, which is, as you remember, the demographics. The demographics will be carried right over from the FSA ID. So the first 2 pages, once you've logged in to do the FAFSA, those pages will have already been created. They're pre-populated with your information, confirm their accuracy, and then you begin answering the questions. Where did you go to school? What level will you be when you attend school this year? The dependency questions. Are you a dependent or an independent student? And then it will go on to your financial information. Again, this is a lot of new information. You've never done this before. It might be confusing. I'm only familiarizing you with the page, but I urge you to get in touch with me and we will go over this together and I will make this an easy process for you. I've done 1,000 of these. I've seen every situation. I can usually tell you if you're having questions, what the accurate answers are and assist you in quickly and efficiently submitting a FAFSA. If you do it on your own and you say, I'm pretty sure that I did it correctly, but you want me to review it with you, within 72 hours, the FAFSA will process and that student aid report will go to your institution or institutions. Once that is the case, if you log back in, it will allow you to manage your FSA ID, go in and make any edits to your profile. It'll also allow you to do corrections. When you open it up for corrections, you can look at every line and go right down page by page and confirm the accuracy of any information put in there. I always tell students, have me help you with it. I'm not saying you can't do this on your own, but why not do it with somebody who's done it 1,000 times? That is pretty much what I wish to cover. You're going to have a lot of questions as you go through this, but you have my contact information. You can get a hold of me and ask me questions. If you're not wanting to refer back to the previous video, I'm Brian, BRIAN @jacksoncac.org. Shoot me a questions. Let me know what's on your mind. Another area of the website that I'd like to take you to. We have college and career off to the right and left hand side. It has a lot of links here that will help you to answer questions about going to college, cost comparisons, some great resource information. Career has a similar page full of resources exploring careers, going directly into the workforce. Just a link library in each case to give you just a ton of resource. Now, under each one, you'll have college-based consultation, and you may recognize this from video 1. There are the 4 seasons spelled out. Under each season, I will link you with resources to research and study what is involved in those seasons. Could not be easier, right? If you are planning to go directly into career, work-based consultations, we'll give you the 5 frontiers. You recall those also. Career assessments, resume and cover letter, each area linking you to some resources. So if you've not done so yet, I would strongly suggest going to our website, spend a little bit of time at the website, look over the information and gather as many questions about any area that you're having confusion and say, I sure wish Mr. Green would answer this question for me, and then reach out and say, hey, Brian, I saw this on your website. What exactly does that mean? If you recall from our previous presentation, I said that I'm the marketing specialist for the College and Career Access Center. That means most of the information on the website I didn't create that information, but I certainly wrote the content and put that information on our website. So I'm pretty familiar with anything you might find on the website, and I would probably be able to answer your questions effectively to tell you what that is, why it's there, and how it's going to assist you. That's all I had to cover today. I like to keep these videos brief, very, general in nature. These are the areas that I'd like you to look at. And then, of course, contact me and we'll have some consultation and I'll explain to you exactly what it is you're looking at and exactly how to answer the questions that you're having. I appreciate your time. As always, I look forward to meeting in person or by Zoom individually to do a consultation. And hope you have a great day.